Thanks for everyone for getting on this afternoon. I know everyone's busy and probably has yet some other Zoom or Teams meetings scheduled for this afternoon. So I think we can get through the agenda fairly quickly today. So we'll get started right away. Thanks, Susan, for checking on the forum to make sure we got that going. So Michelle, I don't know if you had any opening remarks, otherwise we can move on.
Just to welcome Commissioner Driehaus to the committee, and then it's very nice to have you here. And then we also have a new staff member that I'd like to introduce. If now would be a good time to do that. And oh, there he is. So Tom Moore is our new digital communications manager. He's joining the PR group with Joy and Abby. So Tom started a week ago. It'll be a weekend tomorrow, right, Tom?
Yes. So technically started on the 7th. So no, happy to be here. I come here after most recently I was at TriHealth with internal communications there. So now Brad and I've joined the team under Brad and working with Joy and Abby to focus on kind of how to grow social media in 2021 and what to do with digital communications plans. So I'm going to have a lot of work to do with both agencies and looking forward to digging into the readings and the group work.
Great. Thank you, Michelle. Welcome aboard, Tom. Glad to have you on board. I think you'll find the environmental area pretty interesting, if not challenging. And Commissioner Driehaus, I didn't know if you would like to make any opening remarks.
No, other than I'm happy to be here. As I said, Michelle gave me a precursor of what the work is for this group. And so I'm delighted to be here and join you.
All right, great.
I do know I have large shoes to fill, by the way, with Todd Portun, but I will do my best.
Yeah, I understand it is a challenge, but we have found that every new member of our committee brings a new perspective on things, and it's been very helpful over the years to have that. So we want to thank you for taking the time to join today. We realize you have a very busy schedule as well. So our first item here is going to be approval of meeting minutes from our November 18th meeting. And are there any comments or corrections on that? If not, I'll ask for a motion to approve those meeting minutes.
So move, Karen.
Karen approved. Can I have a second? Bob is on and he approved that. And as usual, Susan, let us know if things are moving too fast. So I know you're probably recording this, but just don't hesitate to speak up. All those in favor, raise your hand.
Aye.
Great, thank you. Second item here is, which we've already really covered, was additions to the agenda, and that was just introduction to Tom. So we can move on to Ali. I don't know, Ali, are you or Michelle going to handle the district revenue update and analysis?
I'll let Michelle handle it, and then I'll chime in if she needs anything.
So just really quickly looking at the revenue compared to 2019, we have through November of both years. It's pretty steady. Between the 2 years, we have about a 2% decrease, which is not a big deal. It's about 45,000 tons or $82,000. I know that it sounds strange to say that's not a huge deal, but we're still above our projected revenue from our plan. If you look at the difference between in-district and out-of-district waste, in-district waste is down and out-of-district waste is up, which the in-district waste is what we really can control and what we're trying to decrease. So I think that's good news that our in-district waste continues to decline.
Any questions on that? I don't know if Larry Riddle is on from, well, Larry, I see you're on. I don't know if you had any particular comments on your waste receipts information. All right. We can move
Tony.
on.
Tony,
Could I ask a question of Larry?
go ahead.
Since Rumpke has announced these new plastic items that can now be recycled, I'm wondering, Larry, do you think that's going to have any impact on the amount going into the landfill?
Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead, Larry.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't, certainly every pound that comes out of the landfill is a reduction, of course, but just like the volume difference of, what was it, 82,000, that's basic from one year over the other. It's really basically 2 weeks worth of volume. We do about 40,000 tons in or $82,000 it was, but from a tonnage standpoint, it's about one week. So when we pull out that real light fraction material, it's really hard to discern any measurable difference in tonnage, if you know what I mean. So I don't know what the projection is for the containers, but they're pretty light in general. So I wouldn't believe that there's going to be a large or a noticeable change in our volume, although we know it's going to the recycling center and great things happen there. So, but I don't see that really being portrayed any place on paper, if you know what I mean.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, I think the other, just to follow up on the out of ton versus in ton, a lot of the material that we get out of the district is high unit weight material, which are a lot of sludges, biosolids, some of those things that really aren't going to hit the industrial waste stream recycling numbers anyway. They're just the high unit weight material. So there are certainly some residential and some commercial, but a lot of the heavy material that we get from out of district is just that material that's not going to be recycled, at least in the near future anyway. So.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, Larry.
You're welcome.
Any other questions or comments on the revenues? All right, we can move on to our informational items. And these are informational items, so the board will not be taking any action on these, as I recall. Michelle, turn it over to you, or one of your staff will be handling it, I guess.
Sure. So the first informational item is our 2019 waste reduction rate, which we recently received confirmation of from Ohio EPA. So it is good news. Our reduction rate went up. So we are now at a 56.05% overall diversion rate for 2019. So that's an increase from the 2018 rate of 51%. Which is great. We're leading the four largest counties by population. So I put those numbers there, Cuyahoga, Franklin, and Montgomery counties. So we have the highest rate of those, of the large counties. I did include an attachment just because I thought you might be curious historically kind of where we're at. So that's attachment C, if you want to take a look at that. I included the overall diversion rate and breaking it out by commercial and industrial. I do want to just say kind of a disclaimer on these numbers that they are estimates. We rely completely on data that comes from our commercial survey that we do every year. And this is a completely voluntary survey. Industries and commercial entities do not have to fill out this survey. So Susan and I work very hard to get data, but it's certainly not a full picture. I imagine that our diversion rate is actually higher than this because our waste numbers are very solid. We know pretty much exactly what is going into Rumpke landfill, but the recycling is all over the place. We have, recycling moves all over the region and the world. And so we do our best to get the data, but I'll say when you see those spikes and valleys in the data, especially historically, a lot of those would be one big industrial source of recycling that moved out of the area or decided to stop giving us numbers. And so that's that is really the picture that you're getting, is just that difference in how much data we were able to pull in, not necessarily in reality what is happening with the diversion rate. So we are happy with the diversion rate. We want to get that data. We rely on it, but I just wanted to put that caveat in there that it's not perfect. But I'll take any questions. Yes, Bob?
Yeah, I love seeing that number go up. I recognize the caveat that you have on measurement. It's always a challenge to measure, but it's great to see that number go up. And I know that's 2019. Any indications on 2020? How are you doing with the pandemic? Is that affecting your attempts to measure, and is that affecting the diversion itself in this year?
We won't know that until we start our commercial survey, which will start next month, and it'll go through April. So we really don't know the impact yet, although we've heard, just from anecdotes that the residential recycling will increase, the commercial recycling likely will decrease, especially for that second quarter of the year when many businesses shut down. So we're not exactly sure what to expect. So it will be an interesting year to do surveying, that's for sure. And an interesting year to see if we get responses, if people are just too busy. I don't know, we'll see.
And Michelle just a commented that, every solid waste district faces this this challenge of trying to get accurate data through surveys. So it's not just unique to Hamilton County. Thank you, Michelle. We'll move on to the 2019 Waste Reduction Innovation Grants. We get updates on that.
Yes, that's in attachment D, and I'll let you read that at your leisure because there's quite a few. So these are grants that we gave in the year 2019. This is their 1-year update. We require a 2-year reporting period from our grantees, and we started doing that because we found a lot of grants. They would start their project, we'd give them funds early in the year. They wouldn't start their project until November, and then we never really got good data on how much of an impact it was making. So this is an effort and an idea from Sharon Mooring to try to get that data. So we will get another report from all of these organizations of the year to get a full year of data. You'll see a lot of the organizations were impacted because of COVID. Many of them are school grants that weren't able to start, or other projects, outdoor public recycling where events weren't happening. So a lot of numbers are lower than we were originally hoping for. And I'll also say the nice thing about these grants is that a lot of this is seed money. So we're giving organizations funds to start a project. This infrastructure is going to be in place for the next 10 years or more. So when you're looking at the cost per ton, you have to project that out further than just this 1 year of data. But the committee expressed interest in hearing back from these grants. And so this is how we're doing that. So there's a lot of different grants. I'm not going to go individually into them, but certainly if anyone has any questions, Cher is on too that can answer.
Yeah, I think I don't have any questions. The only comment is that I like the idea of providing basically capital money for folks to spend, but leaving the operating cost up to the individual grantees and for them to carry it on from there. And as I recall, this program is very popular. We get a lot of responses, a lot of requests, and the staff at the district there just does a great job in going through these and weeding them out and making recommendations on how they can be improved and trying to set some priorities in terms of which ones to fund. So Michelle, Sharon, your staff, thank you. I know you guys do a great job. That can't be easy going through those and actually stepping in and trying to say, how can we even improve what the requested approach is with these various grantees.
I would just like to call attention to one of them that is so surprising. The Mercer Elementary School, looking for a pump for condiments, and they're reporting 11.04 tons of waste diverted. I mean, it seems almost unbelievable, but I mean, I believe it, but it's great news.
And I would like to I really like the water bottle refill stations too. The schools would not entertain modifying the water fountains with the water bottle refills with regular school funds without this grant program. It just wouldn't happen. And I think with this grant program, it is happening. I think I counted 3 grants in this round in this reporting. I know it's affected by COVID-19 and the results, but because the schools were shut down or in remote service. But I really like the idea of this conversion. It does reduce the number of it does encourage reusable water bottles and reduces the disposable single-use bottles. And I really like this use of the fund.
Good point, Bob, and it actually has impacts, beyond the normal school hours as well, as people will use those outside their while they're at school. So the impacts carry even beyond that. All right, I think we can move on to our next informational item, which is the 2021 work plan. Michelle?
Yes, and I provided this as attachment E. We realize that in these times we have to be flexible and adapt. So I'm almost looking this as a draft work plan, and that as we're able to open up programs or move into actually working in the office, we may be able to adjust some of these. Right now, we're planning on working remotely through the end of May, and there is a slight difference this year. I added a column, which is the 2020 benchmark column. So you can see what our kind of benchmark year, even though 2020 was a strange year, versus what the goals we have set for this year. And many of the programs we're continuing that we can. There are some, such as the container loan program, the public recycling. No events are happening, at least not in the first half of the year, that we can loan out containers. So we're just planning on that not happening until we know that they can happen. We're still planning a compost bin sale, a household hazardous waste event. Those we'll do similar to the way we did them last year, where it was, social distancing, people wearing masks, minimal contact with residents. But this is just kind of giving us a work plan, a guide, and we're going to be flexible with this when we can.
I know the household hazardous waste program is very popular, and I know you changed it up a little bit this past year, which was great in terms of using an appointment system where people had to make appointments to come in. I think that was a great idea, Michelle, you and your staff had in doing that. It kind of evens out the inflow of people in, and that kind of fit really well with trying to minimize contacts with COVID, minimize the number of people at the site at any one time. So congrats on that. I think you guys did a great job there. Any questions or comments on the draft work plan, the flexible work plan for 2021? All right. Let's move on to item D, which is the environmental enforcement program. Deputy Peak, are you on? Can't necessarily tell. There you are. Glad you're joining us today.
I'm here, thank you.
So there was an attachment, I think, that was included with that. Yeah. But if you want to walk through and kind of where you stand through December 31, that'd be great, Deputy.
So we were up total by calendar year a lot. I emailed Brad and Michelle regarding the same, that I think obviously communities are aware or maybe becoming aware, which is positive. I know I've had a lot more referrals through the year. Not all of the referrals or not all of the tips, if you will, that come through the tip line are potentially, things to follow up on, but at least, by communicating with folks, we try to direct them in the best fashion to quell their problem, or, if I have some insight or if I have someone that I can, relate to them, it's very positive. I've not had, an incident of negativity towards what's going on. The numbers are obviously definitely up. Unfortunately, last month I was slow. But overall, I mean, I think on my end, it all appears positive. There's definitely, more folks leaning upon me and or my assistance based upon their complaints on dumping.
All right.
Deputy Peak, weren't you on vacation for part of December? I think you're being a little too hard on yourself.
Pete, can I ask you a question?
Yes, absolutely, Karen.
You mentioned that the calls coming in are going up and more people seem to be aware that you're there, to try to address these issues. And I just wonder if there's any way or any value in just trying to roughly keep track of the contacts, whether they result in investigations or not. I mean, I think that is sort of an interesting public awareness measure. And, I don't know how much of a burden that would be to do that. I just raise it up as something maybe to think about.
So every, as I've discussed with Brad and Michelle, even if it's something that, Karen, that I can't follow up on, or if it's not within my realm, regardless, I keep every complaint, every phone call or email monthly in a file. So if we have to go back, or if someone calls and I will say complain, or, we can revisit that, or we can observe it. So yes, everything I have, Karen, is available based upon any call, any email, any tip, whether it be somebody calling, our main headquarters and wanting to speak to me about a dumping issue. I mean, I jot it down and I develop a complaint, a ticket, a case, however you want to put it, based upon, even if it's not within my realm. That
Right.
way, that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's great. But I'm just wondering if some reporting on that month by month might not be interesting,
Mhm.
what it is and whether the month has had more or less or whatever. But I don't know what, I just throw it out as a question. Would other members think this might be valuable to see, as in addition to the enforcement activity, to see the reporting or calling or contact information?
Michelle, do you know, is it tracked if they call the main number there and then Laura or somebody, enters it? That's all tracked in addition to all the tips are tracked, right?
That's right. And the map that Susan puts together, which is a part of the attachment, that is actually all of the complaints that we've received, not just the ones that Deputy Peak has investigated. So the idea there was to try to get a picture of where the complaints are coming from in the county. So we do track that and certainly could provide the monthly numbers if that would be valuable.
And on the spreadsheet, Karen, too, it's not attached, but I know that, Michelle, Brad, Sue, and Nifong, cases otherwise dealt with or resolved. Monthly, I have those cases itemized based upon whether it's something I can follow up on, or if it were something that, just really wasn't in my wheelhouse and I had to refer or defer to someone else. If that helps you by any means, monthly, Michelle gets that at the end of the month, Brad gets it. If we wish to sit down and go over that, we can, obviously do that, or that spreadsheet that I do monthly, if there's other parameters or other topics that we wish to put in there based upon honing in, what you're looking for, Karen, we can obviously do that as well.
Yeah. I don't really want to raise more work for you, Pete, but it just caught my attention when you mentioned that the number of people calling and seeking you out for whatever purpose is going up. And that to me sounded like good news, that we must be doing a good job in getting out the word about illegal dumping and that you're the point person. So, that's really where that came from. What you guys want to do about it, I don't really want to push the point.
Okay. I understand. You know, just, oh, sorry.
No, go ahead, Brian.
So just Karen, for an example, after the shared services summit in 2018, it was at Xavier that, where we spoke at, Gulf Manor representatives asked me to come and speak to them with Chuck, and we did, and they opted to keep it, I'll say, in-house, their investigations, but they had some issues and problems. Ironically, just the beginning of the year, I got a tip from a gentleman who was complaining about a property in Gulf Manor, and that case was referred to that policeman who's handling it in Gulf Manor at their request based upon what they want to do. It happened to be on a street where we have a camera, and it happened to be that the officer was fully aware of the complaint anyway. I guess that sometimes I feel that, if individuals don't know exactly who to call or how to get a hold of someone to address a problem, that, we may be getting some complaints like that either A, have already been dealt with, or B, that I can defer or refer them to somebody, that's handling it on their end.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So I just wanted to make a comment, and then I know Commissioner Driehaus had to drop off, but one of the things that doesn't show up in the stats or any place else, but has been I think real key to the success here is Deputy. You've done a great job in terms of the Sheriff's Department has not only been cooperative but really enthusiastic about this program, and two, you've developed a network within Hamilton County with the communities, the elected officials, prosecutors, the court system, and kind of been, I think, done a great job in not just pulling them all together, but sort of educating them on the importance of that and how you can best get the results. So I think a thank you to you and the Sheriff's Department for that. It's been a very good program.
I mean, I appreciate that. And, in the beginning, I don't want to say, Tony, that it was a sluggish go, but, as far as prosecution and in the courts, we didn't feel like potentially that we were getting our best bang for the buck. But I really think that the judge that it's in front of kind of understands now the totality of what's going on and the volume of cases that are in front of him. And I can personally tell you within the past probably 4 to 5 months, he has handed out much stiffer penalties based upon a monetary value in addition to court costs. So, I think, maybe it took a little bit of time, I don't want to say to develop, but to get going so everybody knows, what the program is, who's available, who you call, et cetera. So yeah, I agree 100%, Tony, but thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, well, thank you very much. We really do appreciate it. With that, we'll move on to tentative future agenda items, if there are any. All right, policy committee members' comments. I specifically, I didn't know whether Commissioner Kesterman, whether you had any comments you want to make in relation to COVID. It seems to be an overarching, obviously, topic across everything. But you're welcome to if you have something. If you don't, that's fine too.
Just real high level, it's been clearly a new kind of month as we are rolling into some of the vaccine efforts. Our agency, 9 months ago, 10 months ago, really geared up and started the contact tracing, and that work hasn't disappeared, although in the last few weeks it has slowed down slightly. As we are now working through some of the vaccine efforts, we have really grown our staff. We've added, I think, 11 contract nurses. Our agency provides services for just shy of 500,000 people, but we only have 5 nurses on staff, and they provide tuberculosis control work and sexually transmitted disease clinic items. And so the 11 nurses that we just added are really dedicated to vaccine distribution. We are setting up out at the Board of Elections starting Friday, and we'll run clinics out of there primarily, but continue to do some work in our communities just on a smaller basis. Many of our original plans for vaccine or medicine distribution relied on the fact that people would come through, get vaccine, and leave. But with this vaccine, you actually have to sit for 15 minutes with a medical provider in the vicinity to watch for adverse reactions. Knock on wood, we haven't had any. So having the Board of Elections as a central location will be pretty helpful for us, and we're pretty excited about that. The other item I think worth sharing, and any chance you have to get this information out, it's important. Hamilton County Public Health is just one of many providers. And the state of Ohio in Hamilton County has designated right now for 80-year-olds and above 48 providers that this week are inoculating 8,100 individuals that are 80 and above. So as you can tell, I'm only getting 500 doses. There are many other people that have vaccine. And so folks need to really, unfortunately, work and contact each of those providers if they want to be on each list. But also they need to be patient because there are way more than 8,000 elderly individuals in Hamilton County. So it will take time. If you're anxious for next week because you're 75, we'll have some doses for you. But the truth is we will have not finished those individuals that are 80. We'll just be starting on those that are 75, and we're still working on those in 1A, such as healthcare providers, dentists, primary care physicians. So it's a long process, and Governor DeWine and the federal government is aware of it. There's just a lot of public interest right now. The news is saying vaccines available, and people think, how do I get my shot? I want to get it, it's my turn, but patience is necessary. Overall, though, things have gone really smoothly, and I'm really proud of my team, and really our community has done a great job coming together. Yeah, I saw a question.
Yes, this is a question. I'm not over 80 yet, but we registered on the Hamilton County Board of Health registration site.
Yep.
And I live in a community where there's a lot of people over 80, and many of them have gotten calls from, they think, from the Board of Health, assigning them to appointments at various providers. And other people who haven't gotten it, they come to me. It's like, oh, they think that they can just go to Kroger, so they can go someplace, even if they're not over 80. So can you just clarify, what difference does it make if you've registered with the Board of Health? Should you wait for a call and an assignment for a vaccine appointment, or should you be out scrambling at different providers to sign up for appointments there?
Great question. So if you go to our website, hcph.org, there is now, just up in the last few days, a list of all the providers in Hamilton County. They're kind of clumped into categories. The 5 hospital systems each are a provider. There's a few federally qualified health centers that are providers. And then Kroger Little Clinics are a provider in Hamilton County. Unfortunately, the way the state has set up the process, each provider has their own appointments that they're taking. So if you want to get in the front of the line and get your vaccines as soon as possible, I would recommend you sign up on each of those sites, which is not convenient, but it does give you 6 chances to get access to those vaccines.
So I shouldn't count on being signed up on your registration form for any, I mean, I shouldn't count on that. I was thinking, oh, I'll just wait for them to call me and tell me when to go.
So our registration gives you access to the vaccines that my agency receives. So this week we got a total of 700 doses. And the individuals that you spoke of, we basically took our registration form, we randomized it, and we started calling down the list and registering individuals that were available that were 80 years old.
Okay, great. That's
yeah.
clarifying.
So next week we'll do the same process. Actually, we're starting today for clinics next week for 75 and up, the same process. I will tell you, I would have thought that was an easy process, but 80-year-olds, they're slow, they want to talk, and they're so thankful. And so we actually had 15 people 4 days in a row. It took to schedule 700 slots. I couldn't believe it, but they were the most grateful individuals, either the 80-year-old themselves or their sons and daughters who were helping out. We're just so grateful. And it really was inspiring for my team. They really enjoyed making those calls.
Thank you for that oversight. You know, it looks so much easier from the outside. I think people have got accustomed to, like, you know, getting the flu shot. It's real easy. You can just literally almost walk in any place, even without an appointment, and get one. And I think that is kind of maybe we've gotten spoiled having that availability. And unfortunately, the COVID vaccination is not quite that way. So great, right. Thank you. Any comments out of the public?
I'm not the public, but I have a question for Michelle. Is there any update on the rebranding, renaming project that you announced at our last meeting?
No update yet. I do believe we have a contract set, but there's no activity really has happened yet.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you. So our next meeting is on Wednesday, March 17th at 1:30. We'll still be using Zoom at that time, so look for the notification on it. Susan, do you have everything you need from us? Great, thank you. Michelle, any final comments?
No, just at the March meeting, we will be we'll have our first discussion of the plan update, the solid waste plan update that will be starting this year.
Okay, great. With that, I'll ask for a motion to adjourn.
So
I'll make that
moved,
motion. I'll
Okay,
I'll
Bob.
second. I'll
whatever.
second, Karen.
Okay.
You got Karen and Bob?
Yeah.
All those in favor, raise your hands. Great, thank you all. I think we can wrap it up. Thanks for, again, for participating. I know this is a busy time for everyone. And we will talk again on March 17th.
Bye.
Be safe, thank you.
Thank you
Bye now.
very much.